So this is Copenhagen. I didn't have an intro for this, so I'm just kind of talking about it before it goes because I didn't get to record myself. It was my last day in Sweden in Copenhagen. This was the central hub that we also took from the airport where it has a train that goes through. This is one of the trains, very similar to ours that we were going to take to Copenhagen. I had my stuff because, as you'll later find out, Shub and Ida invited us to a friend's place to stay the night in their living room because no one was there but them, and they had to leave in the airport right after me, basically. So we got to spend a day in Copenhagen. This is just the sea of it between the two. You can kind of see, I don't remember if that's this side or the other side, but you can see Sweden on the other side of the sea. I can't remember if it's this one or not. It looks like it might be this one, but it was very cool and we loved it. And I love this train, even though it gets super crowded. This is a part of the architecture of us walking to the apartment, which was about a 15-minute walk. This is when we were walking to meet up with Shub and his friend, and it was a church, and apparently you could go all the way up the spire, and I didn't get to go to this, but they apparently had people that you could like be out on top and like look out at the spire, and you could see them from when we were walking, them like moving around. Then for dinner we had Indian. Shub was not happy. Shub and Ida, for reference, were going to India this same time that I was going back to America, so they're in India right now. And it was okay. She was not happy with it. He picked the place. It was a whole thing. It was very funny. We had some samosas. I had butter chicken. And then we were going to Tivoli Gardens. Fun thing. So I first arrived in Sweden and Copenhagen. We didn't think that I was going to be able to go to any of the winter markets or any of the festivals so everything ended before I got there, and then when I got back into the US, everything was going to start up again, all the winter markets and everything and festivals. So I didn't think that I was going to be able to go to any winter markets, and Johanna didn't think anything like that too. So on our way to Tivoli Gardens, we found a winter market, and it was so cool. It was just out of the station. And we were just like getting out. We didn't know anything of it. They had wonderful light displays, and it's just in the middle of the square, as you can see. It was so cool, and it was just something we didn't expect, and it was just a pleasant surprise. No one knew that it was going to be here because Shud and Ida went to go hang out at a pub in the meatpacking district, so we went here to go to Tivoli Gardens. It was just really cool that we were able to like find one. As you can see kind of in some of these photos, there's some people moving around pretty quickly. It's because they had a skating rink in the middle, and they had a bunch of these restaurants. They all had glögg, which is mulled wine, which I'll talk about later, and a bunch of different things, but mostly it was like restaurants and stuff around these historic buildings. And they even had, I think it's called Troburken, where it's this ram that they make out of straw, and it's not supposed to burn, but people burn it for hope of a good near. But yeah, like I said, there was an entire ice skating rink set up around in a circle in the middle of this square. But yeah, there was lights everywhere, and there was this little area that had leftover ice that the kids were playing with, like snow. And had we had more time, like it wasn't as late as it was, we probably would have went to a couple of other areas or spent more time at Tivoli Gardens, but we were on a little bit of a time crunch, so we started hustling over to the Tivoli Gardens, which was through a station on the other side of this road. It was like a main central hub station of other trains outside of the metro that we took. So this is on the other side of the station, and you can see the big mountain. That is Tivoli Gardens. And this over here on the left is the big station. It was really cool. I wish I could have filmed inside, but I felt like it would have been kind of weird if I did because a bunch of people were rushing just to get to their destinations. So starting out, it was also a big surprise to us. We didn't realize it, but it had been officially one day since they had set up and decorated Tivoli for Christmas. Oh. So we got to experience that. It was really cool. We got to see a bunch of things. We didn't ride any of the rides because it was kind of too cold. They had shoes up on the thing. I think it was like inspired by a circus, but I couldn't really tell. But it was really cool. They had a bunch of different things. There was the Japanese style building that was a restaurant inside. and it was decked out in lights. There was this big pond that people were riding boats in as a ride. It was like a game, but it was also off to the side so that you could actually have the nicer pond too. And it was just really cool. There was so many interesting things here. We have to go back because we only got to see like half of it, I feel. And there was this carousel that was really pretty too, and we took a bunch of pictures at the carousel too because it was just so nice. The lights were gorgeous and it was just so nice. And so at this time it was like around 5-6 o'clock, so it was pretty dark at this time already, but it was so much fun, and we had so much fun here. But there was these really pretty decorations everywhere. It was gorgeous. It reminded me so much of like zoo lights or like the botanical gardens when they're lit up, because everything was just so pretty. Those are really cool. They're like dragonflies. Then in the willows, you could go into like the middle of them and take photos of being like cascaded by lights. It was so much fun. It made for excellent photos. They had a clock tower. It startled me so badly that there was a clock tower that was dinging because I'm used to NAU one, which is over speakers. But I loved how they decorated different sections of the gardens. Apparently in the spring it is like more of a garden than an amusement park. But there was a couple of different little like quote-unquote events around where they had these Christmas trees lit up that were really pretty. There was a bunch of like, we actually got to see a special little show that like just happened all of a sudden. So at this time, we wanted to take a little bit of a break just to sit down for a moment because we've been walking around for a while. And I got to try glögg. Glögg is a mulled wine with raisins and nuts on the bottom. And I'm not big for alcohol if you know me. But this was a non-alcoholic one, but it was still pretty bitter. So I got a hot chocolate and I enjoyed that a little bit more, honestly. But it was really fun to try. I love trying new things like that. This was one of the stages. There wasn't any performances going on, but there was this big peacock in the middle that had like this really cool projection off of it. And it was just really interesting. And apparently that peacock's there year round. It's on the map. Another thing that we saw in some of these little buildings, I don't know what's there normally, but it had these like animatronics that had played some music, but it was just like Christmas music that was really nice and sweet. I adored some of these lights, honestly, and some of these lanterns and everything. It was gorgeous. So this was the secret event I was talking about. We got to see that we were very surprised by. We were just walking by, and it looks like this normally without the little fairies. And it like started playing a different type of music. Some of the trees went out, and some of them stayed lit. And we were just walking by. We didn't expect to see it or anything. So it was fascinating. Pond really accentuated it. If you remember Canal Convergence, this is a part of the things that my dad and I love seeing. This entire experience in this amusement park was fascinating. I loved this little like clock video. I think it was so much fun. But we had to cut it off early because we had to get going back to the apartment, because at this point we were getting a little late and we wanted to be able to get home. And now it is morning in Copenhagen. So this is a picture of the friend's apartment. I just really liked how it was like a little hazy because it had rained during the night. And we had, guess it again, a Swedish breakfast with eggs, cheese, ham, and some really good bread. I mean it. This was probably the best bread that I had, I'll be honest. I loved it. It was a pumpkin saffron bread with pumpkin seeds in it. And we made little sandwiches out of it. It was just so good. And then, of course, I had to say goodbye to Johanna. Both of us were really upset about it, but we know that I'm going to come by sooner or later. Also, I have a thing with neon, if you haven't noticed. And so in the Copenhagen airport, I found this little cafe with neon. So I wanted to take a picture of it. This Capri Sun blew my mind. First of all, way tastier than the Capri Suns here in America. Second of all, this thing was big. You can kind of see my water bottle off to the side that I couldn't find a refill for my actual water bottle, so I had to buy one at the time because I had to go through another set of security. And it was so good. It was like actual juice. And it was just a fun little twist top on top. And now, of course, it's me leaving Copenhagen. I didn't know if I was going to get a window seat for my flight from Atlanta back home, so I wanted to be able to get the at least liftoff of Copenhagen and the landing in Atlanta. Now, what we had for our quote-unquote dinner or lunch was actually the best plain food that I had had. It was what they called it was a cream sauce with chicken. It did have bell peppers in the couscous with cauliflower, so I had to pick that part out. But the salad, the bread, the chicken, the little banana bread with chocolate chips, all of it was so good. And then for a little snack, they gave us this Mediterranean pizza twist, and the elderflower juice with orange juice was so good. Love elderflower. New favorite flavor from Sweden, honestly. And of course, I have been landed officially back into the States. Not much to say here, just kind of heading back. Had to go through another set of customs and security. Had to go through about 3 of them, which is normal. And then finally, around 11 o'clock, Dad picked me up from the airport. We were able to start heading home, but I was starved. Dad was like, hey, I should eat something too. And so we went by a local IHOP, and what did I get but a big American burger with bacon and mushrooms. I just had to have something with a bit more protein on it. I did have that fresh fruit if you caught that. But anyways, this was such a fun video. I loved Sweden and Copenhagen so much. I can't wait to go again. I unfortunately missed the Aurora Borealis flare, so we didn't get to see that. But hopefully next time we'll get to see a little bit more, especially Northern Lights or more. I can't wait to see Johanna again. I love you so much. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.